Looking after children and their interests is a challenging, fun and rewarding job. It's also a job with many responsibilities. Your main aim is to give children the stimulation, support and encouragement they need to develop healthy and fulfilling lives. But you must remember that you're also responsible and accountable for their safety and protection. Sadly, abuse is a daily reality for many children, and at any one time there are approximately 30,000 children on local authority child protection registers, and the Home Office estimates that around 1 or 2 children have been killed by their parents or carers every week over the last 29 years. Unfortunately, many more will suffer serious abuse or neglect at some point in their lives without anyone ever knowing. As someone who has contact with children, you have a duty to protect them from abuse. There are 3 levels of information to which you must refer so as to be alert to the possibility of abuse and to act correctly if you suspect it's happening. They are the government's national standards, your local Safeguarding Children Board's policy and procedure document, and your employer's or organisation's own child protection guidelines. It's your responsibility to know about and follow all 3 types. This video aims to familiarise you with the government and other guidance about child protection, the typical settings, physical and behavioural signs of abuse, the reporting process and what happens once you report a concern. The government has made combating child abuse a top priority for every profession and organisation that comes into contact with children. The current guidance that sets out good practice is working together to safeguard children. This document sets out how all agencies, organisations and professionals must work together to promote children's welfare and protect them from abuse. It is relevant to everyone working in the statutory, voluntary and independent sectors. A shorter document called What to Do If You're Worried a Child is Being Abused summarises many of the messages in working together to safeguard children. This is available in booklet form and provides a step-by-step guide through the process of reporting and investigating a concern. Your employer should have a copy for you to look at or even take home. You can also access both of these at the DFES website. Depending on your setting, various government regulations about the care and protection of children will apply. In its daycare standards, for example, the government expects that employers have the protection of all children as their first priority. They have a written policy statement and procedures based on the summary version of the government's booklet, What to Do If You're Worried a Child is Being Abused. There's a designated person responsible for liaison with local child protection agencies and Ofsted. The designated person has attended a child protection training course. All other staff are aware of child protection issues and are able to implement agreed policies and procedures in the absence of a designated person. All staff are aware of possible signs and indicators of children at risk and are aware of their responsibility to report their concerns and keep them confidential. So what does making it their first responsibility mean in the context of child abuse? First and foremost, your employer must ensure that all practices are totally orientated towards the protection of children. This includes your induction, training and supervision. Another of your employer's obligations is to select someone to liaise with the external organisations responsible for child protection. In particular, social services, the police and Ofsted. This person will receive child protection training and know what to do when a concern arises. Of course, there is the possibility that you might have a concern about child protection when the designated person is unavailable. In these instances, it's important that you have sufficient awareness of child abuse, the forms it may take, and what you should do if a worrying situation arises. Your local council and employer or organisation will have comprehensive child protection policy documents that will help you gain that awareness. The first thing to remember is that you may come across evidence or suggestion of abuse in 3 possible settings. These settings are the child's home, or somewhere else the child goes in the company of a parent or guardian, your own care setting, another place when you take the child out and away from the care setting. Whatever the setting, you are expected to keep the child's right to protection in mind at all times. Typically, there are 4 main forms of abuse. They are physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. A child may show evidence of one or more types of abuse. Each type has physical signs that you need to be aware of. The examples described here are typical, but remember that you may come across other different signs that could indicate abuse. If you do notice anything you're unsure about, always speak to your designated child protection person or supervisor.